Ladies and gentlemen, I'm using this under the Fair Use Act, and I apologize, this may seem redundant, but I have to do this because Johnathan Cahn, artist, has took it upon himself to write not only one book from my two books, he's decided to write a second book using my books, my two books. And this is his September the 17th appearance on Praise on TBN with Eric Steckelbeck. And this is actually going to be very informative, very educational, and we're going to have a little bit of fun with it at the same time. Now, I want to point out this is him promoting his newest book that was published just last month, or excuse me, at the beginning of this month, early September 2023. He just published this book, early September of 2023. And let's listen to a little bit of it, because what he's discussing, he has linked the recent events from a few years back. He's linked those events to ancient biblical times as it relates to Donald Trump, the abortion and pandemic, and the plagues of Egypt, and how this is all linked to ancient biblical times. Let's listen to it.
Johnathan, one of the mysteries in the Josiah Manifesto has to do with, hey, we're talking about all the hot button topics here. COVID, abortion, Roe v. Wade, January 6th.
Yes.
There is obviously the Capitol Hill riots, January 6th. Start that by telling us the mystery of former President Donald Trump.
Yeah.
All about COVID, January 6th, where they stormed the Capitol, Donald Trump, and how all these things are biblically linked. And again, that was published just this month. And we're going to find where he actually stole this from, because he didn't do the research. There it is, Donald Trump, how they ended up storming the Capitol. Let me find that on this page. There's Come Hell or High Waters, how Donald Trump was going to drain the swamp, but also Donald Trump said a storm was coming, and I have that specifically, a very specific thing in here about the storming of the Capitol. Right here, January the 6th, the storming of the Capitol from January the 6th. That comes off of page 31 of my book. That was published in March of 2022.
He sees a building, and he comes there with this is Jehu, comes to the Capitol with an agenda to drain the swamp. So therefore, same thing. So Trump comes, but
it's all about draining the swamp. Comes off the exact same page. That's the exact same page. Donald Trump draining the swamp, the storming of the Capitol. Everything comes straight off of that book, out of that book. And page 31, that's where it begins. That's where all of that begins, about storming the Capitol and draining the swamp and Donald Trump. All these things are biblically linked.
Well, let me tell you now, January 6th, because this is not in the paradigm, because I wrote this years before, but the template's there. And so I'll just say this, and I put it in the manifesto, but it's this, that at one point in the story of Jehu, he calls for a gathering in the capital city. He calls people to come to the capital city, has the gathering. His people gather around a great Capitol building. Then
Samaria.
Then that's right. But so think about, I don't have to. We have a smart audience. I don't have to fill it in. Then the people of Jehu storm the building. They storm the building. Now, and while proceedings are going on in the building, so they storm the building. There's much more to this, but there's so much more. But I will just say this: that when the siege took place, the Capitol Police actually announced how many they arrested on site. At the end of that week, they made a big thing of it.
So he's showing in his new book.
80 men, 80. We arrested 80 people. 80 people who stormed the building.
On January 6th.
Yes. Oh, that week. Yeah, the week. Yeah. Go to the Bible.
So he's linked the Bible to the storming of the Capitol that happened on January the 6th, and also its relationship to Donald Trump. That comes off of page 30, or begins on page 31, ladies and gentlemen, of this book. of my book that was published in March of 2022, a year and 6 months before his book was ever published. Literally, exact wording, exact phrasing, stolen straight from this book. He doesn't have anything new. All he has is what's called a derivative work. He stole copyrighted material from my books and added lies. Understand that. He added some lies to it.
And so, but this is actually foreshadowing what was going to happen with Roe versus Wade.
All about abortion and Roe versus Wade in his book, and how all these things are biblically linked. Can we find that in my book? The laws about abortion and SCOTUS. Yes, we can find that, and that goes down to page 44. We move from page 31, and by the time we get down to 44, we show how it's all linked in abortion and those laws with the Supreme Court.
So all these things that have happened, from the plague to that everything is there in the mystery.
Yeah. And by the way, folks, Johnathan mostly does his own research on all of this. That's what you're hearing right here. Hey,
Let me tell you, let me explain this, because this is why I laugh so hard. I've contacted Eric Stickleback already one time and shown him other materials that Johnathan Cahn did not do research. He only stole the material out of my book. So before, in a previous interview on a video I showed, Eric Stickleback was shocked and amazed and said, "Johnathan, where do you get these incredible new revelations from?" And Johnathan declared, he said, "Well, I can only get them from God, Eric. These are incredible downloads from God." But this is his latest video he did with Eric Stickleback, and Eric's not praising him on these amazing downloads from God. Listen to that again, what he says.
So all these things that have happened, from the plague to that everything is there in the mystery.
Yeah. And by the way, folks, Johnathan mostly does his own research.
He's not praising Johnathan anymore like he was in the previous video I showed. He said, "Well, Johnathan mostly does his own research." Well, Eric, you still fall short of your mark, because he doesn't even mostly do his own research. He just literally, you can't call stealing from somebody's books research. That's plagiarism. That's not research. That's plagiarism. Research is your own independent studies that no one else has produced. Or you can take from bits and pieces of others and put something together, but you still have to, in a work, you have to cite the people you have researched their work from. Johnathan hadn't done that with any of the things he's stolen from me. All he did was claim these were, incredible downloads from God. Let me tell you what they were downloads of, Eric. They were downloaded from probably Kindle, Amazon Kindle. Johnathan downloaded my Kindle books and claims they were given to him, downloads from God. We're going to continue to learn and listen. So these are all talking about, what he does in this is he's talking about the coronavirus, how these are all linked to biblical times. That is what my book is primarily about: the abortion, the coronavirus, this plague that had occurred. And again, that begins at page 11. Page 11 of my book, my most recent book, where I show how all of these things are biblically linked: the abortion, Donald Trump, the storming of the Capitol, the plague, the pandemic, the coronavirus, and we're going to learn even more. We're going to show that his entire book is nothing but stolen material from my books.
And Roe v. Wade plays a pretty significant part in this mystery. Tell us more. Yeah.
So he's talking about Roe versus Wade plays a significant part in his book. Well, you would be correct. It plays a significant part in my book, because I said this is what all triggered these events. One of the main things that triggered these events, these laws like abortion that are ungodly, that have led to these plagues, like the plagues of Egypt. Page 44.
But Moses would end up surviving, and he would be the one who would break the power of Egypt that was trying to kill the babies. Well, was there
like the plagues of Egypt and Moses? There it is, straight off of my book. Page 44. He doesn't have anything new. He just took it directly from my book.
Moses would end up surviving, and he would be the one who would break the power of Egypt that was trying to kill the babies. Well, was there
Nothing new. Nothing new. Like the plagues of Egypt. Page 44 from my book. Page 44 from my book. He doesn't have anything new, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing at all new comes in his newest book. The last two books that Johnathan produced, Return of the Gods, and this new book, Josiah Manifesto, comes directly out of my last two books. And again, this book he just produced, Josiah Manifesto, was produced in September this month of 2023. Mine goes all the way back, was published in March of 2022. He had an entire year and a half to produce a derivative work of this book, ladies and gentlemen. That's all he did. He produced a derivative work of this book. That's it. That's all he has. And I actually have done a much better job than he has, because he did not do the research. What he produced is nothing but a distorted, twisted version of what I did. That's all he did. A distorted, twisted version of the truth. Because he did, in fact, mingle his own lies and deception in with the work that I did. Y'all be sure to share this. God bless.